Good afternoon. We have started the next recording. Welcome those who are online with us. And so it's kind of great to be at camp meeting, but also in some ways coming to the last seminar. It's kind of sad because we're coming to an end of a part of camp meeting, but we got Sabbath ahead of us. And we are blessed today again to have Dr. DeRose with us. And before he comes up, let's bow our heads and have a word of prayer. Lord God, as we come to the last seminar this week at camp meeting, we again ask for your presence. We have been asking again and again that you pour out your Spirit, not just on the speakers, but on all those that are present and those who are listening and watching online. And I ask that you honor our request, and this might be a good time to be in your presence, and that the Sabbath ahead might be a high point in our lives this year. We ask and pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
It's good to be with you again this afternoon, and we're speaking about the theme, Beyond Ozempic and Bariatric Surgery, helping our communities thrive in an overweight world. And if you're just joining us for the first time, or if you're still scratching your head about the title for all three of these meetings, let me just break it down for you. As I shared with you in our first meeting together, even though there are these powerful weight loss drugs today, they're not working for everyone, okay? Some people can't afford them. Other people start on them and they have side effects. Other people say, I just don't want to take a medication. So what I'm simply saying is, despite all the hype that's out there, there's still a need for practical lifestyle-based strategies. Beyond that, even after someone's been on a medication for a while, most people don't want to take something for the rest of their life, and we don't know the side effects of these newer medications if we use them for 4, 5, 10 years, who knows? So the point is, what most people are recognizing is lifestyle is still the foundation of changes. I mentioned there bariatric surgery. All kinds of people today having had weight loss surgeries, and I can tell you as a physician, I've seen two extremes that can happen. I had a patient once who was literally dying because of the success of her weight loss surgery. She was wasting away to nothing. Okay? She had some of the older bariatric surgeries. She was not absorbing her nutrients, and she was literally starving to death. And then I have other patients who walk into my office 10, 20 years after bariatric surgery, and they're obese. Why? Because they never changed their lifestyle. So the bottom line, regardless of what kind of options are out there, are lifestyle-based strategies, and that's what we've been trying to introduce you to in this series. This final presentation I've entitled, The Fast 8 Program, How Choosing to Practice Even a Single, just one healthy lifestyle habit can revolutionize your health. Well, what do you guys think? Is this just a bunch of hype? Can a single lifestyle change dramatically impact your health? Well, I've seen it time and time again, and that's what we're going to talk about in our presentation. I want to remind you that this is just the tip of the iceberg of an 8-week program that we presented in 2023. It was entirely virtual. We had people from all over the country and from abroad who joined us. I think we had over 300 people sign up for the program, and you can go through that program yourself. Right now, I just checked these links before I came because I know we've had some trouble with some of the links. Okay, I see some of you laughing. We upgraded, quote, upgraded the website just prior to these meetings. We put some new resources out there, and we had some problems with those upgrades. But that bottom website in yellow, timelesshealinginsights.org/fast8, that is the website you want to go to if you want to sign up for the Fast 8 program. If you sign up, you'll get access to a syllabus. It's over 60 pages long, and discussions about making that into a book, but you can get it all free right now. You can just sign up for that, and you get access to 8 one-hour video presentations. So you'll see interaction with other people who went through the virtual program. So there's no way that we can condense that all into a few minutes, right? So let me see how I can do with giving you some of the high points today. Before I do that, let me just tell you a little bit about the name, Fast 8. It actually comes from, well, here's one of the subtitles, 8 weeks, 8 Bible fasts, and lifelong health improvement. That was the theme for the program. We looked at 8 fasting concepts that were in the Bible, and we put those into an online program. So again, get that last link. Hopefully by the end of today or maybe next week that our main website will link right to this. But right now, if you go on our main website, timelesshealinginsights.org, and you click on the Fast 8 link, you'll get an older edition of the handout, and you will not get access to the videos. So I don't know what happened with that, but anyway, use that full website at the bottom. So let me just tell you a little bit about the program. It's, like I said, it's based on Bible-based fasting principles, but the program was designed to appeal to a secular audience. So you can find on our website, I actually gave a couple of messages, sermon-type messages that are on the website that show you the biblical basis, but we designed the program so that you could share it with secular community members. So it's not just it doesn't feel like a Christian program, even though they're based on Bible principles. And if you look at the second bullet point here, what we do over the course of the 8 weeks is we introduce people to these 8 biblical fasts. We have them try each one for at least a week, and if it's working for them, they can keep continuing it, or they can just go on to the next week in a new fasting technique. What the goal is that we're going to try to have each person at the end of 8 weeks changing at least one lifestyle practice. Counsels on Diet and Foods has some of the best counsel on fasting. What is the title of the book? Diet and Foods, but some of the best counsel on fasting. In this section, around page 189, the spirit of true fasting and prayer is the spirit that does what? Yields mind, heart, and will to God. This really transcends what we eat and drink, doesn't it? If you think about it. The true fasting, which should be recommended to who? Who's included in that? That's right, every one of us, okay? What is it? It's abstinence from every stimulating kind of food and the proper use of wholesome, simple food which God has provided in abundance. So basically, we have strong endorsement that every one of us should be doing what? We should all be fasting, at least in a certain sense of the word. Not a water-only fast. If we were all doing that, how long would we last? Yeah, not very long, okay? Let me give you some testimonials from people who went through that online program. And this is, I'm trying to help you illustrate too. You know, sometimes you think, boy, I don't have the background to do this. You know, how could I help anyone do this? Remember, the foundation for what I've been sharing with you is every one of you can be involved in health ministry. Just an aside. There's at least 3 major commissioning services that we find during Jesus' ministry. He sent out the 12, he sent out the 70, and then he gave that Great Commission, okay? Which of those 3 commissioning services did not include explicitly healing? Yeah, you say, oh, I'm thinking Matthew 28, the Great Commission. I don't see explicitly healing, but look at Mark 16. Mark 16 is another version of the Great Commission. Jesus with the 12, or the 11, I guess at that time. And there, explicitly healing is mentioned. Here's my point. Whenever Jesus commissioned his followers to continue his work, it wasn't just preaching. It wasn't just teaching, but it was what else? It was healing. And if you haven't heard me up to this point in this series, every one of you is equipped to be involved in health ministry, and sometimes even the things you've struggled with. Have you heard this message? Even if you've been struggling, you can invite someone else to go along with you. Watch these videos with someone in their home. They're freely available online. It won't cost you a penny. Okay? You can watch it once a week and go through these videos, and you can download the 60-page handout. Here's what one participant said. I lost 26.9 pounds with Fast 8, and I'm thrilled to have gone from a size 14 to a size 6. You say, well, I'm just cherry picking. No, I had a bunch of testimonies. I was kind of in a rush, so I put up, they're somewhat random. Here's someone else. I followed the Fast 8 program, and I've lost about 6 or 7 pounds. I've decided that I really need to quit coffee, and I can't stand it, though, without a creamer. And I just found out that the creamer has corn syrup solids in it. Okay, so you may get a little bit stressed when you start looking at labels. Here's someone else. I recently went through the Fast 8 program. I started this program during a trying time. She went on about difficulties she was having in her life. By the grace of God, I was able to keep up with the program for the most part. I'm still moving forward, and these lifestyle changes have been life-changing for me. I've lost nearly 20 pounds and hope to lose at least 20 more. So some of you are a little bit confused because, we've had just a few meetings together, and every meeting I've shared with you some different online resource, right? How many of you remember what I shared with you our first time together? Yeah, I shared with you the simplest health program I've ever shared with anyone, and you were the first ones I've shared it with. So you could communicate with me down the road, and you could say that was a bad idea. But if you go to our timelesshealinginsights.org webpage, the very first thing on the webpage is the new Health Motivate app partnership that we have. And I was excited. I think over 20 of you now have signed up for the program. If you signed up anytime before noon today, you should have already gotten another email link to the email address you gave us. You should have gotten a link so that you can sign up and download the app. And it's an amazing app. This is designed by a Seventh-day Adventist group. It's a new app. And one of the cool things about the app is you can communicate with me. So I mentioned to you the other day, a participant shared with me his goal was to track his sleep. And he's been communicating with me through the app. So you'll be able to do that as well if you sign up. So just go to timelesshealinginsights.org and you can access that app. That's the simplest thing. All we're asking you to do is track one behavior throughout the summer, because what we find when people observe something, their habits often improve, okay? And you get to choose what you're going to track. Yesterday, I told you about our program, 30 Days to Better Health. And that's delivering a lifestyle program differently than the Fast 8 program that we're talking about today. And some of you were disappointed because yesterday I said, well, I have a testimonial for you. Actually, a person who's now a member of the Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Indiana. She was not a church member when she went through the program. She was attending one of our churches, and actually, as the pastor's wife shared with her this program, she went online and had an amazing experience. And I think we've addressed the issue, because I wanted to share that with you, just to give you a feel for all the pastor's wife did is this woman had some health issues. She said, go to timelesshealinginsights.org and do the 30 Days to Better Health program. That was the extent of her sharing. The woman went on there and went through the program. Do you guys have that queued up and back so that we could actually do a better job at playing that than I did yesterday? Yeah, can you do that? Don't you appreciate the transparency in this group? Okay. So, now does it help you for me to keep talking? And when it starts rolling, I'll know that I should be quiet? Oh no, this is looking impressive. Can you start right from the top? Okay, at least you guys are all on the edge of your seats. That's the website for the 30-day program. Opal Barrett, so good to have you with us on today's edition of the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Opal, you are someone who has some very personal connection with this program. Before we talk about that, tell us a little bit about your health background. Did you have either diabetes or high blood pressure?
When I went to my doctor in June of this year for my regular checkup, she said that I had prediabetes and that I had, my blood pressure was 185 over 110. And so she put me on medication. Yeah, she was afraid I was going to have a stroke because I'm 68 years old.
No, I mean, that's a significant elevation of blood pressure. I mean, the higher the blood pressure is, you're exactly right, the greater the risk of things like stroke and heart attack. And at 185 over 110, that'll raise, I think, about every doctor's eyebrows. So you're put on a prescription medication. Tell us how it went from there.
Okay, I took the medication for 3 days and I was extremely weak and dizzy and I coughed all the time. So I called my doctor back and I said, could I please just try something else because I just can't take medication. I'm very sensitive to medication to start with.
You've got significant high blood pressure. It's not really coming down with what you're doing. Then you hear about the program that we put together some years ago called 30 Days to Natural Diabetes and High Blood Pressure Control. It's a free program online. So tell me about something that comes to your mind that was different than you were doing that the videos challenged you to do.
Well, day one, be bold. I considered my condition and I decided that day that I would give up sugar and excess salt. Those are the two things that I was going to work on, give up that day, and I did.
Wow, you're a fast learner. Because those points about sugar consumption and salt come later in the program, but from day one, when you just heard that message to be bold, you said, I already know some things I've got to do. I'm going to start doing them.
Right.
So how was that?
Well, you know, I still craved the sugar. I still craved candy and chips and all that. And it was hard for the first maybe 4 days or so. But then after that, it just came natural to me. I don't have any sugar at all or any cookies, cakes, or pies or anything like that. And it changed me.
So tell me what's going on. You're following this program day by day. And did you watch a video every day?
Yes, yes.
And you did it for the whole 30 days?
Yes, I did. And I cut my caffeine on day 6.
Okay.
And I had a splitting headache for 3 days.
And you're still talking with me.
But it was worth it. It was worth it because now it's like years ago when my dad first got diabetes, I heard him tell my mother that, you know, I feel a difference since I've cut out coffee. And I was a real coffee drinker. I mean, my husband was a truck driver, so we drank a lot of coffee. But those first 3 days was a little rough, but I made it through it, and I'm the better for it.
So what were you seeing? What was going on with your blood pressure as you're going on this 30-day journey?
Okay, it just gradually started going down. Like I said, it was normally 152 over 90. My first, actually like 3 days, I noticed it go down to 140, and I'm like, no, that's not right. And I had to keep rechecking because I check it 3 times a day. And I was so excited. I called my doctor and I said, I'm down already. But yeah, it was a significant change just in the 3 or 4 days. It was just, I couldn't get over it.
You go through the whole program. And you started it back, you said, in June of 2021. Okay, and now here we are in October of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still following some of the principles in the program?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I am. Because, like I said, it's made such a big difference. I just want to keep doing more. And then when I started the day, I think it was day 3 to start moving, I wasn't really working a lot then, but I started walking 5 minutes out and 5 minutes back, and I thought, well, that's not much. But I started small. And I did that every day. And now I'm up to 20 minutes out, 20 minutes back. And I feel great.
Wonderful. What are you seeing with your blood pressure? Where are you at these days?
Oh, my goodness. My blood pressure is 118 over 76. Normally, sometimes my bottom number is lower, but I'm staying right at 118.
That is fantastic.
I know. My doctor's so impressed. And I didn't mean to lose weight. I didn't go into this to lose weight, but I was 182 pounds in June, and now I'm 158.
Wow. So that's like 25 pounds.
You've just given me a makeover, that's all.
So that was the result of a Seventh-day Adventist church member, pastor's wife, who shared just a website. I mean, how many of you think that's kind of above your pay scale to share a website? Any of you think you could handle that? So that's what we were talking about yesterday. And like I said, remember we talked about this concept of the teachable moment. And so sometimes the teachable moment is the high blood pressure reading, or maybe it's the pre-diabetes diagnosis. And like I said, sometimes it's easier to share about those things than about weight because there's such stigma, right? In our culture, if you say, it looks like you might benefit from this weight loss program. You want to go on it with me? That still might be a little bit harder sell, okay? But if someone's talking with you about it, by all means. So you can choose either one of these programs, and remember, we've got this special app for you to use. Now, let me give you an overview of the Fast 8 program, because that was the testimony about what we shared yesterday. We looked at some of the testimonials from people who went through the Fast 8 program. Let me give you a little bit more detail about it. And like I said, if you're interested, just go to that website, sign up. The minute you sign up, you'll get access to the whole syllabus. If you want to save trees, you can just read it online, 60-some pages. If you want to print it out, you can do that. If you don't have a printer, then it's an opportunity to make friends with someone in your church or your next-door neighbor, have them print it out for you. So let me give you a little bit about background for this program. So the program is an educational program, and here's the second bullet point. Over the years, I've worked with many people, helping them change their lifestyles, and this is a general theme, that I'd rather have someone change one thing that they're committed to stick with for the rest of their life than to change a whole bunch of things that they have no intention of sticking with long term. Okay? So as far as long-term benefit, now someone might say, well, what would one small change make? There's a woman that I shared this principle with, and she said the thing she changed was she went from regular milk to plant-based milks. That's all she changed. And she was able to do that, and then she started making some other changes. 2.5 years later, she had lost over 100 pounds. Okay? And now, sure, that doesn't happen to everyone, but the point is, you might say, well, what difference is that going to make? How big a deal is that? But it's doing small things that you're committed to stick with. And the most powerful changes that we make behaviorally are all or none decisions. They're actually, if you will, fasting decisions, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. So let me give you a little bit more about the background, why I developed the Fast 8 program the way I did. Some of you, if you've been with me throughout this week, you realize that there was a time in my life where I was the medical director for a large hospital system's weight loss program, and I've worked a lot with weight loss over many years, and one of the things I've found is that many people, and this may be an obvious statement, if they go on a new weight loss program, they're going on it because they failed previous weight loss programs. Okay, you say, well, that's probably pretty obvious. But the problem is, when they go on most weight loss programs, they're given a list of things to do. And the problem with that is, if you think about it, if you've been on a bunch of weight loss programs, you're told to do a bunch of things. If you're going on a new one, where you've got a whole history of things that haven't worked, and likely you feel like you're a failure because you've gone on all these programs and they haven't worked for you. And so basically with this program, what we try to do is change the narrative. The focus is not on weighing in. It's a weight loss program where the focus is not what the scales are showing, but what choices you're making. The goal is to try to improve your health. And if you're working to improve your health, what will tend to happen is your weight will tend to improve. Okay? So don't get all too focused on what's happening with the scale. Say, what can I do to make myself healthier? And from a biblical perspective, how many of you have ever read the scripture about how God will not accept us until we've lost the proper amount of weight. Any of you know the chapter and verse for that one? No, there's nothing like that, right? I mean, yeah, amen. Remember when the religious leaders dragged that woman in before Jesus? Said, we caught this woman in the very act of adultery. Moses said, we should stone her. What do you say? And how does that story play out? That's right. They all end up walking out, and Jesus says, where are your accusers? She says, they're all gone. Jesus says, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. And this is, so if we think about the gospel, Jesus takes us right where he accepts us. He loves us just the way we're at. Now, society maybe has told us we shouldn't love ourselves the way we are, okay? I'm not supposed to love myself because I don't have enough hair, I guess, or something like that. No, really, right? We could all take something in our appearance, and we could say, well, we're not good. But that's not how Jesus looks at it, right? Us, right? So if we catch that vision, then our focus isn't on trying to make ourselves better. It's trying to cooperate with God on this journey. So what we're trying to do in the Fast 8 program is give you a track record of success. We give you these 8 areas that you get to choose how you're going to work with them. We don't tell you, you got to do X, Y, and Z. And let me just expose you to what those things are. Some of these people that went through the program and had good results, let's just hear what they felt in the program helped them. The main thing is my view of myself has changed. I'm not quite as self-critical. I'm able to avoid many things in the dessert category that I've not done before. Granted, I'm not totally never eating sweets, but for the most part, it's off the menu, along with many other foods. Okay? So the change started with what? With how she was looking at herself. The stem, leaf, and flower benefit is so helpful. I'm also trying to stick with not eating after 3 or 4 most nights. Sometimes it's a challenge, but I do like the flexibility of this lifestyle program. I hope to grow my own sprouts in the near future also. So let me talk with you about this. One of the things we talk about in the program, we give you several things that you can choose to work on, and one of them is my favorite fast of all. I think this has got to be my favorite fast. I call it the leaf, stem, and flower fast. And there's different ways to apply it. One of the ways we have people apply it, we say at least 6 meals a week. You start with a serving of just leaf, stem, and flower vegetables. And I know the immediate question is, well, what's a serving? I say, well, if you like leaf, stem, and flower vegetables, it could be a bowl. If you don't like them, it could be a bite. Okay? Because what we're trying to give you a track record of success. Even if you don't like vegetables, how many of you think you could eat a teaspoon of lettuce? Okay, most of you could handle that, right? Even if you don't like it. And then you could eat, whatever you like after it. Now, you'd get better results if it was a little bit more than a teaspoon, okay? But the idea is, do you see where we're going with this? We're trying to help you to be successful. So here's the first day, first week. And we give people a choice. They can do one of 3 fasts. They can choose this for the first week. You either do this leaf, stem, and flower fast, where you can do this, like I said, a serving at the beginning of 6 meals throughout the week. We have a recipe in the syllabus for an herbal jello. If you say, I just cannot even take a teaspoon of vegetables, then there's a natural herbal jello made of, I don't want to get you hungry this late in the day, but it's made of guar gum and psyllium seed husk. Aren't you mouth just kind of watering a little bit? And we've worked with this. We've shown that this jello can help stabilize blood sugar in people who have diabetes. So that recipe, it was actually several recipes in there in the syllabus. The other option is fasting from overeating. And you say, well, what does that mean? Okay, and this is the idea of stopping eating when your hunger is satisfied. So we go into more detail in the program about it, but I just want to give you an overview. The second week, we say you can choose, you can fast from snacking that week, no snacks at all, or you can fast from fried foods. You say, no, I don't like any of those fasts. There's some, we call them fasting correlates. You can fast from inactivity. What does that mean? You're going to get some exercise, okay? You're going to fast from overwork. Oh, you're going to sleep more. I mean, what we're trying to do is give you some options. And you say, Dr. DeRose, how would this help anyone? Well, that's why I started out with the testimonials first. In general, people were losing weight over 8 weeks on this program, and you start looking at it and you say, well, is this really going to help anyone do anything? Week 3, we challenge people to fast from caloric beverages. This is all right out of the handout if you're wondering where it came from, okay? But it's fine to take pictures of it. What about week 4? Fast from addictive substances, including problem foods. And for some people, those problem foods are those high sugar foods or those high sodium foods. Week 5, that challenge to fast after 3 p.m. So when 3 p.m. comes, what are you going to eat after 3 p.m.? Nothing. Just drink water. Just water, okay? We'll let you have herb teas as well, okay? Fast after 3 p.m. And then week number 6, we introduce a Daniel fast. And if the Daniel fast from Daniel 1 is too strict, we say you can go on Daniel's original diet, which is just not eating any unclean foods, right? Daniel was raised in a Jewish home. And, or you can go on the Acts 15 program. So we give people a number of Bible examples. It's not a biblical program, but we're trying to bring people along and introduce them to some biblical concepts. Then we have something here that may be shocking to you. We encourage people to fast from moderation. Do you all understand the principle of temperance is not just moderation? Temperance is moderation in what? Things that are good. But the principle of temperance is fasting from moderation when it's something that's harmful. It's making a clean break with harmful things. And then the final week is some final goal setting. What are you going to do going forward? Okay, I know we could talk a lot more about this, but I promised you that we'd give you some time for questions and answers as at the conclusion of this program, and we tried to leave roughly half the program for that. So do we have some roving mics that we can use? So, and I said this is fair game. I know this is especially about weight loss, but if you have other health questions, that's fine. So we're going to see if we've got some roving mics back there, or do you want me to wander around and share my mic? What do you guys think? Okay, so Pastor Thruster has got a mic in his hand, and he's the person whose attention you need to get if you want to ask me a question. So he's right off to my left. Do any of you have any questions about any of the things I've just put up there? Okay, there's a question up here toward the front.
My question is, what is a good, if you want to lose weight, what is a good amount of weight you could lose a week? Because some people lose a lot of weight quickly. So what's a good average to where you wouldn't harm yourself?
Yeah, someone on a really careful lifestyle program. When I worked in intensive lifestyle change programs, we'd have people come in for about 2 weeks, and they'd lose 4 to 5% of their body weight in that time. So that's, for many people, that's in the range of, well, you know, you can do the math. If someone weighed 300 pounds, what would 4% be? It'd be 2% a week, roughly. 1% of 300 pounds is 3 pounds. So they may lose up to 6 pounds in a week. But that's in an intensive residential program. So usually I'm very happy with a patient if they're losing just a pound or 2 a week, okay? And these are even people that have a lot to lose. Now, the more you have to lose and the more significant changes that you make, the quicker it will come off. But a lot of what comes off if you make a dramatic change, like if you went on a water-only fast, and by the way, I would not recommend that if you're on any medications, especially if you're on blood pressure or blood sugar medications. So, but if you're totally healthy, you have no medical problems, and you went on a water-only fast for a few days, a lot of what you'll lose is going to be water weight, okay? So realize that too, okay?
What are the tips for helping people deal with the emotional connection to food?
Okay, the emotional connection of food. I'll tell you an interesting story about this, and I think I even threw a few slides in here. So one of the lifestyle centers that I worked with was called the Lifestyle Center of America. They ultimately sold the facility to the Chickasaw Nation of Oklahoma. It's now operated as a resort there outside of Sulphur, Oklahoma. But while we were there, we were very impressed with the medical research on how fasting can help people with high blood pressure and with diabetes. So we would put patients on water-only fast when they came in after we checked their initial blood work and all. We'd have to adjust their medications typically. And we noticed something interesting, and that was that a lot of overweight patients said, well, we want to go on a fast too, but they didn't have diabetes or high blood pressure. And that was kind of foreign to my thinking at the time, but they felt so bad that these other people were getting to go on fasts. So we started to put some of these individuals on fasts as well. And to answer your question is one of the interesting things that we found that a lot of these people, after 3 days of fasting, it was like a transformative experience mentally, because many of us have a subconscious fear that we're going to die if we don't get to the next meal. Now, you might think it's a joke, but it was amazing to me. So people found that they could actually survive without eating for several days. And it kind of transformed their mental outlook, because they said, well, you know what? Because one of the principles that I may have mentioned to you earlier, and this is to me, one of the most powerful weight loss principles, it's actually not eating to try to satisfy appetite, but eating only enough to satisfy your hunger. And a lot of people say, well, what does that mean? You know, hunger and appetite, aren't they the same? Well, the way I use the terms, hunger is a physiologic need for food that your brain senses, and you're desiring food because you actually need calories. Well, what then is appetite? Well, yes, it's desire, but appetite is not necessarily bad. So appetite is a desire for food that may or may not be in keeping with your actual needs. So I would hope you'd have a good appetite after fasting for 3 days, okay? I'd hope you'd, although you're more likely to have a bigger appetite after fasting for 8 hours. And there's some reasons for that. If you fast longer, your ketone levels go up, and that suppresses appetite and things. But let me just kind of come back to the points that I'm trying to weave together here. So the point I'm trying to make is when I share a principle like this, and the way to learn how to differentiate between hunger and appetite is to slow your pace of eating, and then while you're eating, and this just happened to me this morning, because I try to practice this myself, not because I'm trying to lose weight, because I think it's the way the Lord designed us to eat. And this morning, I really hadn't eaten that much for breakfast. Breakfast is probably my largest meal, and I hadn't really eaten all that much. And I said, well, you know, it seems like my hunger's satisfied. And I actually still had food in my bowl. So I'm actually staying in a hotel, so I just took the bowl and I put it in the refrigerator and stopped eating. Now, I could have said, well, that's not enough food for me, and, you know, what if I don't eat enough, and will I get through well, I've learned, okay? I'm not going to starve between the next 2 meals. And what I'm sharing about the outlook to food is many of us have this kind of survival outlook with food, and some of these fasting principles, whether it's a medically supervised water-only fast, or whether it's a leaf, stem, and flower fast that you just do for a whole day. By the way, the leaf, stem, and flower fast, what is that all about? What's a leaf, stem, and flower fast? Because I've mentioned it several times now. What would that look like? What are leaf, stem, and flower vegetables? Give me some of them. Spinach, kale, asparagus, romaine lettuce, broccoli, Swiss chard, celery. You get the picture? Anything that's a leaf, stem, or a flower. Okay? How about a carrot? That's a root. That doesn't go. How about a tomato? No, that's not a leaf, stem, or a flower either. That's really the fruit of the vegetable, if you will. Okay? How about a cucumber? No, if it has seeds in it, it's not a leaf, stem, or a flower. So you could go on a 3-day fast, leaf, stem, and flower vegetables. And you shouldn't get in any problems with micronutrients and all. They're loaded with, and how do you eat them? Well, you can eat them raw, you can juice them, you can steam them, okay? So this leaf stem, now it's a very low sodium diet and it's a very low glycemic index diet. So if you're on medicine for blood pressure or diabetes, if you're especially on a diuretic, a water-losing medication, you do have to be careful because there's not much sodium in those foods. Okay, so just kind of be aware of that too. But we were just using it a single meal or at the beginning of a meal or sometimes even for a whole day. So my point, to come back to the question, is how do we change our thinking, our perspective on food? These fasting techniques that we go through in the Fast 8 program can help to kind of reprogram your brain. I see at least several hands up. You got to get his attention, not mine though, so, okay.
Yes, what do you recommend for someone who was vegetarian for years, someone I know, and was doing fine weight-wise and contacted poison ivy real bad? So they put her on medication, gained 20 pounds, and never been able to lose it since.
Okay, so what sometimes happens with either an autoimmune disease or a severe allergic reaction, they'll give a patient a course of steroids, okay? Prednisone, Medrol dose pack, I mean different names for it in different places. And those steroids, they tend to raise blood pressure, they tend to raise blood sugar, and they tend, like I mentioned the other day, to cause you to put weight on, especially around the middle. And they can cause a significant amount of weight gain. So you say, well, what do you do then? Okay, this person was doing fine, and now it seems like their metabolism's messed up. Well, I would recommend either the 30 Days to Better Health program or the Fast 8 program. Have you heard of either one of those? Okay? And really, the best thing you can do, even if you don't need to lose weight, is go through the program with someone. Okay? And say, let's go through this program together. Or you've just been at camp meeting. Say there was this crazy doctor there, and he was telling about this program. I thought it'd be interesting to try it. Are you willing to go on it with me? Let's just see if it even works. He was sharing all these testimonials saying that this program was so effective. Okay, we've got another question here.
Yes, my daughter is an only child. She's 11. Is it ingrained in your brain to think about that you're going to starve? Because that's how she is. She feels like she's never going to get enough food. And we've never ever had a problem with supplying her with food. So
no, it's a really weird thing. Like I said, it's not something that I intuitively had insight into. But then as I worked with all of these people who were dealing with weight issues, and even people who don't have that, and I don't know where it comes from, but the bottom line is sometimes just seeing that you can miss some meals as part of a structured program and that you survive. Really, for some people, it was transformative. So for an 11-year-old, that might be a bit much to ask. I wouldn't want them to feel like mom forced them to not eat for 3 days and then, tell the kids at school and then someone calls someplace that you wouldn't want called in this crazy world that we're in, okay? I'm just saying, but if you watch some things together or shared some of these things, the 30-day program, one of the things I like about the 30-day program is the videos. Did you catch the average length of those daily videos? Did any of you pick up on that? It's less than 6 minutes. Okay, so they're just really short. The Fast 8 program, they're 8 roughly 1-hour videos. But the 30 Days to Better Health, also known as 30 Days to Natural Diabetes and High Blood Pressure Control, you can see why we shortened it. That program, on average, the daily videos are less than 6 minutes. Some are less than 5 minutes. Some might be 7 minutes. Okay, question?
I was wanting to know, like, on the vegetables, if you was just eating those vegetables, how long can you do that? Is there going to be a problem if you're not having grains and stuff? Because we did a 3-day vegetable and fruit only diet, and we were told, oh, you need to get back to your grains and other stuff. So is there a limit on this? Or can you do this for like 2-3 weeks and still be okay, a month?
Well, actually, if you think about it, and this is quite interesting, so the leaf, stem, and flower vegetables are low in carbohydrates. Okay, so it's really a type of ketogenic diet. It's really a vegan ketogenic diet, if you want to look at it that way. And the problem with ketogenic diets, just even if they're entirely plant-based, like we're talking about, is to optimize delivery to your brain of the raw materials that you need to make some of these critical neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. You actually need a higher carb diet. And I'd need to give you a longer explanation as to why that is. I mean, it's confusing to a lot of people, but if you're on a low-carb diet, your brain serotonin and brain dopamine levels can go down. And so someone who's prone to depression, going for 2 or 3 weeks on a diet like that may not be a good idea. Okay? Do we have another question, or are we? I see the Statue of Liberty there. Okay.
A follow-up to her question on the leaf, stem, and flower diet, because I know a huge thing right now is protein, but somebody like, for instance, I'm healing from a surgery, and they keep telling me I have to eat tremendous amounts of protein, and I've been getting, and the nutritionists have given me horrible advice about that. Like, wait, you're a vegetarian? Oh, then you have to eat lots of eggs. So if I do a leaf, stem, and flower diet, how long before I start needing protein?
Actually, the surprising thing is just how much protein per calorie is in some of these foods. And I see some dietitians in the audience. They could, you know, I don't know if their numbers are as good on the top of their head, maybe better than mine. But as I recall, broccoli is something like 33% protein. You can double check that. But yeah, so the point is, you're not going to be, there was an interesting study that was done where they actually looked at mixed plant food diets. And you could not design, well, let's put it this way. If it's really a mixed diet, you could not plan a diet. I'm not saying it right. If it's a mixed diet, because I guess you're planning it, you could plan a diet that's too low in protein, but the diet would have to be like all watermelon or something, okay? No, because the vegetables, in addition to the legumes, the whole grains, they have, you know, the nuts, but if you leave those things out, even just the vegetables often are higher in protein than many people realize. Now, granted, you're not eating a lot of calories. So if you're on a special diet where you're being encouraged to consume X amount of protein, but even then, even in what we call anabolic states, most people don't recommend more than like 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram. And so for someone who weighs even 100 kilograms, that's 220 pounds, that would be what? You know, it'd be 150 grams of protein. That's a lot of protein, okay? But you could still get that through plant sources. Okay, we are at just about out of time. And so the appropriate thing to do at this point is to let you know that I'm not going to rush off. So if some of you had some individual questions, I'll stay by. But we want to close with a word of prayer, and let's do that right now together. Father in heaven, we want to thank you so much that you are the God of new beginnings. And not only are you planning a new beginning for planet Earth, but you're also desirous of giving us new beginnings. First of all, as we come to you and you give us a new life in Christ, but then as we come to you at different points in our life where we need a new start as far as our health, as far as our mental outlook. Father, you know the needs that we represent here, but each of the needs that we represent are things that allow us to be compassionate toward others. In 2 Corinthians chapter 1, you tell us that you comfort us in all our afflictions and all our challenges so that we can comfort others with that same comfort you give us. So help us to catch that vision so that as we go forth from here, we can not only go with encouragement that there are things that you want to help us accomplish, but how you want to help us be agents of change in our communities, in our families, and beyond. We thank you for it all. In Jesus' name, amen.